Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford caught a lot of flack these last couple days over comments that he posted on X about a week or so ago, saying that you're not a real fan if you don't want to pay $80 for a new release of a game. Now, that's just kind of like a broad oversimplification of what he said. I will go into specifically what he said in a moment. But on the one hand, I can kind of understand and agree with what he's saying. But on the other hand, he communicated it very poorly. And I think he kind of deserves the negative attention he's getting as a result of all this. And also the comments he was making just kind of stoked the fears that many gamers have in this current environment where studios are deciding to raise the price now, even though not all games necessarily warrant the price increase that they're going to. As gamers express concern about Borderlands 4 potentially costing $80, Gearbox chief Randy Pitchford says, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. Yeah, and that's a real dumb thing for him to have said. Outspoken Gearbox chief Randy Pitchford has responded to a fan who expressed concerns about the prospect of paying $80 for Borderlands 4, saying if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. The video game industry has made the jump to $80, first with the Nintendo and Mario Kart World, then with Microsoft and its price hike announcement that will kick in this holiday season. Could Borderlands 4 follow suit? Publisher 2K Games and parent company Take-Two have so far remained vague on whether they will go to $80, and Randy Pitchford has insisted the decision is out of his control, but responding to one concerned fan on social media, Pitchford set the cat among the pigeons by saying that if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. And going over to X, here's that exchange for people who haven't seen it yet. Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increasing of the price tag. You are the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher. And this is in response to a post Randy Pitchford made about Nintendo Switch and Borderlands 4 for the Nintendo Switch 2. For this, Pitchford responded, "Hey, not my call." I don't necessarily buy that. It's like, well, yes, it's obviously not his call. I mean, yes, he is the CEO, but he doesn't necessarily dictate the price. But this person says you're the CEO, you have some say. And like, yes, if he vehemently disagreed with it, I think there is something that he could do about it. But if he just said, not my call, and left it at that, or if he said, like, it's not my call with the prices, but I'm against $80 price and I'll try to keep it below that, I think that would have been a good response. But instead, he just said, not my call, and then continued on with this, which is what a lot of people are zoning in on. If you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school, working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. And this is an argument that I've seen a lot of other people make in regards to the price of new releases of games, because I've seen clips or like images shared from like catalogs of like Toys R Us and other places like that back in the 90s, and you can see the price of them were even like he said, like $80 back then, which would have been hundreds of dollars when adjusted for inflation and current value. So those games did sell. So I understand what he's saying. It was like games were expensive back in the day. People still bought them. If they're expensive now, people are still going to buy them. So I can kind of agree with that. And I actually do think to a certain extent, some games can justify being charged a lot for those ones. I know it was being talked about. What was it, earlier in the year or late last year, one of the two, but a lot of game studios were wanting Grand Theft Auto 6 to be $100 upon release. And I think that's still a possibility that that's going to happen. But I think some games can justify that because of the value that you're getting out of the game. Like if you're going to get a game and you can spend hundreds of hours playing that game, I think $100 for hundreds of hours of entertainment is justifiable. Now, if it's a single player game that you can just kind of breeze through during like a weekend, 10, 12 hours of play, I don't think it necessarily justifies the $80 price tag. A lot of these companies producing them think the price for the game is determined by how much you spend on it. But I mean, how much you're spending on a game isn't necessarily a good metric. I think it should just be more along the lines of how much value you get out of it. And that's really difficult to determine. But him saying that if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it work. I don't think that's the best remark for that. So going back to the article, they have a transcript of that exchange here. Then following that, a lot of people did not like what he was saying. They have some of the comments here. LeMayo, CEO, said, real fan woo-wee in this economy, said one social media user. Wow, that's probably a bad take. Cost of living crisis. And you're just going to say, if you're a real fan, damn, said another. One an elitist out of touch response, another said, his solution, just buy it if you know you will. Is this how you treat your loyal customers? Yeah, that's a bad look, basically saying like, yeah, we know you don't like it, but you're just going to shut up and take it and be a good consumer. I mean, obviously that's not the exact words that he used, but that's essentially what he's saying and how a lot of people are taking it. And I think that's understandable. A lot of people are taking it in that way and responding negatively to what he said. You should have just left the response at not my call and kept the gaslighting out of your response, another added. Yeah, that's 100% true. So last week during a PAX East panel, Pitchford insisted that he didn't know the Borderlands 4 price, but refused to rule out $80. And he kind of elaborates on that here. You can read this article yourself. I'll leave a link to it in the description of this video if you want to check it out. Scrolling further down, in a recent interview, IGN asked Take-Two boss Strauss Zelnick if the company would go to $80 for its games. Zelnick wouldn't say either way, but did say consumers would be willing to pay for the very best. And I agree with that. Like I said, some things I think people are willing to pay $80 for, even $100 for. I don't think that's every game out there. And this was my concern when Nintendo raised their price, and I spoke about it at the time, and I've since spoken about it in relation to other things, because when Nintendo raised their price, a lot of other game studios basically took that as permission because no one wanted to be the first ones to do it. But after Nintendo did it, they can all just kind of point to Nintendo. It's like, oh, they're the ones who set the standard now. $80 is now the new price. Previously, they were saying they were wanting Grand Theft Auto to charge $100, and that would set the standard at $100. Maybe they'll still do that. But right now, people are pushing the $80 price tag now for new releases and blaming Nintendo as a result. Microsoft even specifically cited Nintendo when they were announcing that they're raising their prices. But a lot of these companies are basically saying they're only doing that for certain AAA releases, not necessarily every game. But let's be honest, it's going to start this way. And pretty soon it'll spiral into that's just the price for AAA games, which is $80. And while some people might just decide to buy it, I think a lot of these companies are underestimating how many people are actually willing to pay that amount for these games. Like Pitchford says, if you're a real fan, you're willing to pay $80 for it. And I would be willing to pay $80 for some games that I really enjoy. I'd even be willing to pay $80 for Grand Theft Auto 6 when that comes out, because that looks like it'd be really good. Perhaps even $100 for that game, because I think the value that I would get from it, if I get the same amount of enjoyment and amount of time playing that game as I did with Grand Theft Auto 5, then I think it could actually justify the $100 price tag. I don't think Borderlands 4 would justify the $80 price tag for that. We can see from like the last game that they released it's been kind of slipping. And even though that was some time ago, I really don't have the confidence that it's going to be up to the par to justify that. Now, there's going to be some people who are willing to pay that amount for it, but I think they're going to sell significantly fewer copies if they try to go down this route. I think they should just do what they've kind of done in the past when it comes to Borderlands games, which is basically like, yeah, you sell the game at just kind of like a reasonable price, maybe below a little bit. They sold it at $60, but then just kind of made up the difference through season passes and selling skins and other things like that. I think they could end up making out a lot better than if they just tried to sell it for $80, and in addition to all the other stuff that they're going to add on down the road. This article kind of concludes by saying earlier this month, 2K announced a cheaper than expected $50 price point for Mafia: The Old Country, confirming that it's not an open world game, rather a linear narrative driven game. The announcement was positively received, with many fans saying that they're more interested in a high quality, cheaper, shorter story driven Mafia game than a bloated open world game filled with repetitive mechanics. Indeed, there seems to be a growing call for more of these cheaper, manageable games. With Sandfall's well-received Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which has sold an impressive 2 million copies despite being available day one on Game Pass, held up as a potential trendsetter. And I think maybe we're going to see a little bit more of that. We're going to see, if we see fewer of these major AAA releases, but they're also at the $80 plus price tag. And then if we see fewer of those and then more of these cheaper alternatives from indie devs or even major studios releasing cheaper games like this, I think that could be good for the game industry. But if they try to continue along the lines that they're currently at, where they just release these major AAA games, charge this amount for them, I think it's just going to kind of exacerbate the decline of the gaming industry, because I think fewer people are going to be playing them and they're going to lose money quicker than what they're losing right now. And it's going to get to the point where they're going to have to scale back and probably even cut their budgets, something that they probably should do now. The only difference, though, is if they go down this route, then they're going to have to lose a lot of money before they finally realize they should be doing what they should be doing right now. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And what do you think about Randy Pitchford's comments? Do you agree with him, disagree with him? Do you think, like me, where it's like he might be right to an extent, but he just kind of communicated it very poorly? I'm curious what people have to say about this. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.